Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. 660 days less the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The President's Office of Ukraine estimated that Kyiv could receive up to $15 billion per year from frozen Russian assets, reports Interfax Ukraine. Rostislav Shurma, deputy head of the president's office, said that the first task is not to obtain frozen Russian assets themselves, but to receive income from the assets. Shurma noted that these revenues can temporarily be a good support for the state budget, financing the economy and citizens while the fight against Russian aggression continues. At the same time, he stressed that the priority task is to get all Russian assets, sovereign assets, assets of oligarchs, to compensate for all the losses that Russia has caused to Ukraine. Earlier, the European Commission approved the prepared proposition on the mechanism of using income from frozen sovereign assets of Russia in favor of Ukraine. Russian troops are conducting intense assault operations on the Tavria front, southern Ukraine, reports Radio Liberty. According to General Alexander Tarnavsky, commander of the Tavria Operational Group of Forces, for 3 consecutive days, Russia has been carrying out 80 attacks a day, mainly in Donetsk Oblast, with support from armored vehicles. The assault groups mostly have up to 20 people. The commander added that over the past day alone, the total losses suffered by the Russians amounted to 414 people. We would really appreciate if you could recommend us to your friends and family, as well as share information on social media. This way more people would learn about the podcast and truth about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The German media Bild, referring to intelligence data and sources, writes that Russia plans to occupy Ukrainian territory beyond the borders of 4 illegally already annexed Ukrainian regions during 2024-2026, reports Ukrainska Pravda. According to the sources, Moscow plans to capture all of Donetsk and Lugansk oblasts and up to the Oskil River in Kharkiv Oblast by the end of 2024. The Institute for the Study of War noted that these targets overlap with Russia's ongoing local offensive operations in the Donetsk, Lugansk, and Kharkiv regions. Bild writes that Russia also plans to seize a large part of the Zaporizhia, Dnipropetrovsk, and Kharkiv regions further to the northwest, including the city of Kharkiv if possible, in 2025 and 2026. In addition, Russia plans to maintain the current front line in the Kherson region along the Dnipro River and is concerned only with preserving the advance of Ukrainian forces in the south of Ukraine in the direction of occupied Crimea. Russia's plans are based on the mobilization of Russia's defense and industrial base, the annual loss of about 100,000 troops in grueling offensive operations, and the possible election of a new US president in 2024 who will drastically reduce or end military support to Ukraine. Bild reported that a source familiar with the intelligence said the Kremlin plans to rely on sham negotiations to continue offensive operations, similar to how Russia negotiated the Minsk agreements in 2015, while the Russian military continued to occupy additional Ukrainian settlements. The Institute for the Study of War noted that Bild previously published largely accurate intelligence about Russia's plans for a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in December 2021. The experts noted that they could not independently verify the authenticity of Bild's reports. But information about Russia's plans for a war in Ukraine until 2026 is consistent with Russia's preparations for prolonged military action. The Russian military command is undertaking a long-term restructuring and expansion to build strategic reserves, and Russia is gradually mobilizing its armed forces to wage a protracted war. According to military analysts, reports of Russia's medium to long-term plans to occupy territory outside the 4 illegally annexed regions are also plausible given the Russian officials, including Russian President Vladimir Putin, have recently returned to expansionist rhetoric. The Institute recently assessed that a sudden end to Western aid would likely sooner or later collapse Ukraine's ability to contain the Russian military, and in such a scenario, Russian forces could eventually advance all the way to Ukraine's western border. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We're a commercial initiative of just 2 people, and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.